Hey everyone, my name is Zach. I'm a 23-year-old competitive boulderer from Canada, currently living in Montreal. Welcome back to the COMPCLIMB training series, where I record most of my training, provide in-depth analysis of every session, and just chat about climbing with an emphasis on competition. So here we are back at Beta Bloc, and pretty much the whole point of today's training was to get back on this white boulder and hopefully try and get a send of it. So a couple episodes ago, we spent, I think it was a whole session on this boulder. So it was like an hour and 15 minutes straight of just projecting this absolute 10-star masterpiece of a boulder. This thing is so sick and so hard. I was thinking about it after this whole day of training, and I think I fell on every move at one point. Like every single move of this boulder is droppable and hard, which is what makes it like super epic. So I came to Beta Bloc for 2 sessions of bouldering, and this is our morning session. You can see I'm playing around with some moves, trying to find the groove of the boulder, and I'm realizing that, man, okay, this morning session, I have no chance on this boulder. I was feeling about a 6.5 out of 10 in terms of strength and power for this session. So I knew that I really couldn't even project this boulder. But actually, if you notice on that last try where I was kind of messing around, I found a key piece of beta, which is going to help me when we work this boulder later. And that was to come back down to the middle of the 3 slopers in order to do the next move. But we'll talk about that more when we try that boulder again. So, since I knew that basically there was going to be no progress to be made on white, I may as well just not work it at all, save my skin, because that boulder, I need to preserve as much stick as possible for later in the day. So I said, okay, let's go try some of the other boulders in Beta Bloc. So we've been doing quite a few sessions here recently, so I didn't have too much stuff to try, and so I ended up trying some boulders that were kind of maybe things that I wouldn't normally get on, such as this cave boulder here. I go through phases. Sometimes I'm kind of psyched on cave climbing, and sometimes I'm just like, nah, this isn't for me, I don't want to climb in the cave. Also, I was pumping out super hard on the end of this attempt here. I did not have like a good sequence of this boulder, and so I spent a lot of time trying to figure it out and got really pumped by the end of this. But yeah, normally I don't hop on cave boulders just because I don't necessarily, it's not that fun for me. But this boulder actually looked quite cool, and it turned out to be. And yeah, I think that I'm trying to specifically get on power endurance boulders more recently, just because I've been noticing a lack of endurance, and I might do some endurance training after the first North American Cup before Vail, because it's going to be important to have endurance on my side during the Vail competition since it's at altitude. But in the meantime, while endurance is not on the program, I'm just going to try and sprinkle in more power endurance based boulders to kind of get a little bit of endurance training in. And that should actually help me ease into the endurance training a bit better when we start it during the next phase of the program. So I'm trying to almost incorporate a tiny bit of power endurance training in the bouldering sessions when I can. And you'll notice we've been getting on a lot of power endurance boulders lately. So that boulder was pretty fun, and I had some other kind of physical moderate looking 6s up in the gym that I could try, such as this one here. But then I didn't want to spend too much time on these physical boulders because there's actually a really good slab that I wanted to get to. So this one here ends up being the last boulder of the physical stuff before we go try the slab. And this one was pretty cool. It's got quite a tricky start, and normally overhead pressing moves or like even sort of the, bicep curl pressing into a hold that's kind of at face level, like this beginning here, is quite a weakness move of mine. And I usually really struggle with it. And I felt like really bad on the beginning sequence of this boulder. But I kind of had like a fun and good moment on this boulder actually. So usually I'm sort of so accustomed to approaching an overhead press move like this with like low confidence, because it's always been a weakness of mine in the past. But obviously we've been really training our military press like quite a lot recently, and it's been getting pretty strong for me. Like I'm pressing 100 pounds now, which was quite a lot more than when I first started training it. And so I kind of had a moment where I was like, no, like screw being weak at this movement. I've trained so much military press, like overhead press, and I feel like I've gotten a lot stronger in this position and in this muscle group. So I said, I'm just going to treat this move like a military press and just try and use this newfound strength that I've obtained. And that kind of gave me more confidence, and I found more stability on that move just by kind of switching my mindset and saying, no, I'm going to trust the training that I've been doing. And so that was kind of a fun moment. And I think that this is something you should try to do often when you're climbing, is because I myself have struggled with this in the past, where I'll try to train a weakness or train some sort of strength or movement, but then I don't make the mental sort of transition and connection to actually boosting my confidence on said thing that I've been training. And this can be so many different things. And so I'm realizing, okay, actually training the military press and getting stronger with my shoulders and my triceps in that position is only the first half of the battle. Then the second half of the battle is believing in myself and believing that I can do these sort of moves better and with more confidence. And I think that's like the next step for me in terms of overhead pressing moves. So that was kind of just a little fun realization I had today. Even on that one boulder that like went down in a couple tries, I gained a lot of value from that boulder. So here we are moving on to the slab that I was talking about. So we tried this boulder like quite a while ago now, maybe a couple weeks ago. And I made it once through the sequence from the start where I balanced over to the left, but I had my left foot on the right of those two foot chips, and I couldn't do the foot cross, and I still can't. As I've been trying it, you see, it's just like so crazy hard to balance on these feet. I feel almost like too big, and I feel like I'm being tipped off. And so I'm trying to do the sequence, like seeing if I can balance over on the left foot. That way I don't have to do the foot cross. But the problem is that the left foot is a little bit worse and further away, so it makes the transition more difficult. And so I'm like, can't decide what feels closer. This boulder just feels like absolute anti-style. I feel like I can just do nothing on this boulder at all. But I know that it has been done, I think, by some of the setters and some other climbers that climb at Beta Bloc. But this one feels like I will just never be able to do this boulder. I was definitely learning some things on it. I was learning how I should be stepping on these footholds. I kind of realized that I needed to rotate my foot a bit more so that my foot was completely perpendicular with the wall and making sure it wasn't on any angle. That way I could really lean in towards the wall, and my calf being perpendicular to the wall is pointing my body in a straight line right up against the wall to really help tip me inwards. So that was helping as I was trying to maneuver those two footholds, but I don't really know what the missing link is. Like I was just really trying my hardest to balance on those feet, and I just couldn't. So yeah, I worked that boulder as much as I could, but I had to just forfeit and accept that I will never be able to do that boulder. So I rested for a little bit extra longer than I usually do, probably about 4 hours between sessions. And here you notice the beta, this new beta that I found at the end of the morning session. So coming back down to the sloper, allows me to match my feet again, and it makes the move up to the crimp easier. Before, I was trying to go up to the crimp with my left foot on the foot chip and kind of do this off balance move, but matching my feet again obviously makes me a bit more square and better set up for the move. So now with this new beta, I was like, okay, wow, I really have a chance to do this boulder. And it was time to get like fired up and psyched. And I had like a really epic battle with this boulder today. So this attempt here, I believe, is going to be the first tragic instance on this boulder. You know what? It actually wasn't so tragic. So I'm going to drop the finish hold of this boulder. But like I've been saying, I've really been adopting the mindset of I don't need to send boulders all the time. Also, check out this crazy save. I don't actually know how I stayed on the wall there. I felt myself falling, but somehow managed to save it. But yeah, I have really been getting good at not getting too caught up in sending boulders and trying to optimize more for training and getting more variety in. So I actually wasn't that trigger that I dropped the finish hold. And I was like, you know what? That it's still really awesome that I got all the way up there and dropped the finish. Like that felt like an accomplishment in itself. So I just decided, yeah, I'll work this boulder for a little bit longer because that was only a few attempts in, and we'll see if I can get the send. If I do, okay, that's pretty sick. If not, I'm content. And so you see I'm able to do the last move like pretty comfortably when I climb into it, but from the start, that last move is so physically intense. Like matching that hold is just, you're barely even using your right hand, like the second last. You're just kind of grinding your fingers against it, and then as soon as you rock out of the position and hit the finish, you can compress and try and stick the move. But yeah, this boulder was like a nice fight that I was having with this boulder, because like I said, I wasn't too caught up in getting the send, so I was just like really having a good time putting some max effort try hard attempts on. But I was definitely getting a bit nervous, like every time I would get up here, and here we have another finish dropper. Like by the time I got to the second last hold, I started to always get nervous and could feel my sort of lungs, tense up. Because of course I do want to send the boulder still. And as soon as I found myself tensing up too much and like have my chest tighten, that's when I could tell I was gonna fall. So when I do end up sending this boulder on this attempt, I actually made sure to consciously decide to just not get too tense and too nervous. And when I get to the ending sequence, I just said, you know what, I don't care. I'm chilled out. I'm gonna treat it as though I just climbed into the sequence. And that really, really helped on this boulder. And I had a bit more looseness and was able to desperately send this boulder, which I cannot iterate how much of a freaking banger this boulder is. Like, this is probably my favorite boulder we've done in Montreal since we've been here, and I think it's probably the hardest too as well. Probably my hardest send since being here in Montreal, especially because this boulder was kind of anti-style, I think. Like these bad slopers and body position-y based moves definitely makes it the hardest boulder for me that I have sent, I think. So I was super, super psyched, and this session was a great way to close off the training before my rest week, because I haven't mentioned either. I'm going to start my 4-day rest week now after this day of training. So yeah, here, check this out. We're having a campus session at Bloc. I have not featured the spray wall yet on the videos at Bloc. And you can see they have a kilter board too in the background. This gym really has it all. And so the reason I'm doing a campus session within this boulder session is because I'm just doing 1 day on right now, just because that's how the schedule lines up. I'm starting my rest week tomorrow, so I wouldn't be doing my normal campus day the following day, since it's now the rest week. So since this is just a 1 day on, I'm doing like a little mini campus session after the second boulder session. And we're taking advantage of the really nice spray wall up at Beta Bloc, actually. And the idea with this campus session as well was just to go to absolute body failure and destruction, and like until I just couldn't hold anymore. And the reason for this is because I just have a rest week now, and I can afford to just push myself, and it's always a fun feeling. So I made up a couple super fun campus boulders, and I just tried them until I couldn't hold on anymore, which didn't take too long, because after getting a send of white, I was like annihilated. And even all these attempts I'm putting on the campus, I'm like really having to try hard and dig deep because my body's burning after working so hard on white. And this was like the day after the new coal drop, and so I was just like had crocodile tears on loop for this whole session, just banging it out, and that helped me like really dig deep and try hard. So that was super helpful. And this boulder here is probably, honestly, like my favorite campus boulder I've made up in a while throughout these gyms. This boulder was just like had some super fun holds and fun moves. And if you climb at Beta Bloc, I would recommend giving this one a try. I think it's pretty fun. Also, I have a quick tip of the day for this boulder. So it was taking me a couple tries to do the move up to the right hand black pinch. I was falling, and I very quickly realized what the problem was. There was one attempt where I went up and I fell, and I said, okay, let me just hop right back on and try the move with my right hand on a jug. And what I did is went off the jug, and then my left hand on the purple, I pull straight up to go to this black sloper, and the move felt way better than what I was doing previously, which I realized I was doing too much of a roundabout move to this black sloper. And this was just like a good reminder of a pretty fundamental technique. So especially like on slopers, right? This is pretty much for slopers. When you have like sort of flat slopers and they're not tilted in a way that you can compress them, it's very, very important to emphasize moving in a straight line upwards, because I kind of have like the left hand purple is a little bit tilted, but for the most part it's flat. And then we're going up to basically a flat sloper. Any sort of roundabout movement that I have on this campus move is not optimal, because we're not hitting a hold where we can really ride into it and compress it. We're sort of wasting air time, and so basically this roundabout move is going to have us hit the black hold later than we would if we went straight up. So by going straight up, not only is it better momentum, we also hit the hold sooner and optimize for the catching of the egg, which is like a common theme that I like to talk about with a lot of moves, is especially when we're hitting a sloper like this, right? We want to hit the sloper and absorb it super smoothly and gently to load this hold, as though you catch an egg, right? You know, you catch a raw egg, you want to sort of gradually, like you catch it and then you drop your hand down and you load the force so it doesn't just splatter all over your hand, right? That's how you want to think a lot. That's how you want to think about a lot of delicate climbing moves as well. So by doing this sort of roundabout move, it doesn't really allow us to, one, catch the egg on the sloper, and two, it's just, the hold's flat too, so it's not even optimal to hit it like that. So this is just a pretty basic and fundamental technique to always remember, is with flat slopers, kind of just like straight on movements, really, really make sure you optimize going in a completely straight line up, and any sort of roundabout moves are going to bite you in the butt. And so as soon as I started to emphasize going as straight up in a straight line as possible for this move to the black, it really started to make the move a lot better. So at this point, my body was definitely crying, and I had achieved what I set out to do. But I was digging deep, and I wanted to send this boulder because, like I said, this campus boulder was actually super sick, I think. And yeah, honestly, thank goodness I have a rest week tomorrow. I don't know what I would have done if I had to train tomorrow. I guess I just would have had to rein the campus session a bit, but I was wrecked after this session. I lost a bunch of skin, and my body was already burning, and I'm sure I'm going to be super sore tomorrow. This was a really, really good try-hard day of training, not only on like just the grip and like the slopers and whatnot and the power, but also my feet hurt now from trying that slab a lot. My toes are really, really sore. So yeah, I definitely need my little rest week. So yeah, that wraps up this day of training. And then like I said, I'm now starting my rest week. This rest week is 4 days long, and it is the last rest week I'm gonna have before the North American Cups. I might have like a mini rest week in between Salt Lake World Cup, or sorry, the Salt Lake North American Cup and the Vail North American Cup. I'm not sure. I haven't written the program up to then yet, but maybe there will be a rest week or not. But anyway, this rest week is going to be very important because this is like the last bit of recovery I have from all of the heavy duty training we've been doing. And then now after this rest week, the training is going to switch up a bit and start to really, really focus on performance. Like we've been kind of in a medium to high volume range recently with the training, but now going forward after this rest week, we're going to start cutting the reps of our hangs down. The volume of our bouldering sessions is going to be reduced, and I really, really have to rein it in because I need to make sure that I'm building skin. I need to have like perfectly primed skin going to the North American Cups, and I don't want to be being sore or tired from all of the training. So the volume is going to be really kept under control, and we're going to do some comp simulations as well and really, really try to start cutting down our attempts, focusing on performance, and take all of this good quality training we've been doing and turning it into something that I can compete with. So that is the idea coming up after this rest week. So I'm going to rest up, and I will see you after that. Insert catchy video outro here.